The candle burned down until hot wax covered the little glass plate. Across the table, Ryan kept watching television. He had not looked at my blue dress. He had not noticed the candles. He had not even asked why I had made his favorite dinner on a Tuesday night. I sat there with my hands under the table and understood something painful. A person could live beside you every day and still make you feel completely alone. My name is Ava, and I was 30 years old then. I lived in a quiet town in northern Vermont, where winter seemed to last half the year. I worked as a custodian at Pine Hill Elementary School. Each morning, I arrived before the teachers and students. The hallways were dark, and the building smelled of floor soap, paper, and old heat. I unlocked classrooms, emptied trash cans, cleaned whiteboards, and pushed my mop through the silent halls. By 7:30, the rooms were ready. Then the children came in with wet boots, lunchboxes, and loud voices. Most people were polite to me, but few stopped to talk. I told myself I did not mind. I had always been quiet. That was one reason I liked Ryan when I first met him. It happened at a neighborhood market on a rainy evening. I had just finished work, and my hands were rough from cleaning products. When I reached for a bag of rice, 2 cans fell from the shelf and rolled across the floor. A man in a dark work jacket caught one with his boot. "Long day?" he asked. I looked at the mark on my sleeve and laughed. "Is it that easy to see?" He smiled and handed me the can. Ryan worked at a building supply store near the highway. After that evening, I saw him again at the bus stop, then outside a coffee shop. The third time, he asked if I wanted coffee. Being with him felt easy. He did not speak just to fill the air. He listened before he answered, and when I spoke, he looked directly at me. At least, he did in the beginning. 6 months later, he gave me a key to his apartment. It was above an old bicycle shop, with narrow stairs and a kitchen window that would not close in winter. The place was small, but I was happy there. We made soup on cold evenings. We watched old game shows. On Sundays, Ryan drove us to a lake, where he tried to fish and I sat nearby with tea. Sometimes he caught nothing for hours. It did not matter. We were together. I thought quiet love was still love. Then, little by little, the silence changed. Ryan stopped asking about my day. When he came home, he dropped his keys in a bowl and turned on the television. I cooked while he watched. I washed the dishes while he watched. At night, I often went to bed alone. At first, I made excuses for him. His job was tiring. Couples did not need to talk every minute. But there is a difference between peaceful silence and empty silence. Peaceful silence makes you feel safe. Empty silence makes you feel forgotten. One Friday, I brought home 2 pieces of chocolate cake because Ryan used to love them. After dinner, he looked at the plates and pushed his chair back. "I don't eat sweet things anymore." "You used to," I said. "Well, I don't now." He turned back to the television. I carried both plates into the kitchen. Maybe it was not about cake. Maybe it was about all the small pieces of love I kept offering to someone who no longer reached for them. A week later, I tried once more. I cooked roasted chicken with corn and potatoes. I wore the blue dress Ryan once said he liked. I put candles on the table and turned off the bright kitchen light. When he came through the door, he stopped for 1 second. "Smells good," he said. Then he walked past me and turned on the television. We ate with a sports program playing behind us. Ryan spoke only once, to ask for salt. Finally, I put down my fork. "Do you still love me?" He looked surprised. "Why are you asking that?" "Because I don't feel it anymore." Ryan leaned back. "I come home every night. I pay half the bills. What more do you want? I want you to notice me." His face became tired, as if my sadness was another problem after work. "Can we not do this tonight?" That sentence followed me into the bedroom. My clothes hung beside his. My shoes were under the chair. My toothbrush stood next to his in the bathroom. Everything proved that I lived there. Nothing made me feel that I belonged there. The next morning at school, Mrs. Harper, a fourth-grade teacher, noticed me moving slowly. "You look tired, Ava. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. Just a long week." She touched my arm gently. "Take care of yourself." Those 4 words stayed with me all day. I had been waiting for Ryan to take care of my heart. I had been waiting for him to see my sadness. But maybe he never would. That Saturday, Ryan told me he was going out with friends. He was already putting on his coat. "You didn't mention it before," I said. He frowned. "Do I need permission?" "No. I just want to feel included." "You always want something." Then he closed the door behind him. I stood in the quiet apartment for a long time. Then I packed 3 shirts, jeans, work clothes, and my green sweater. My friend Claire lived near the school. When I called, I asked, "Can I stay with you for a few days?" She did not ask for an explanation. "Come over," she said. "The door is open." Ryan returned after 10 that night. I was standing near the front door with my bag beside my feet. He looked from me to the bag. "What is this?" "I'm leaving for a while." "Why?" "Because I feel alone here." Ryan gave a confused laugh. "Ava, we live together. How can you be alone?" "That is exactly the problem. I haven't done anything wrong." I picked up my bag. "I know," I said. "You haven't done anything at all." Then I walked past him and down the narrow stairs. Outside, light snow was falling. My hands shook, but I did not turn around. Claire opened her door before I knocked. She wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and placed warm tea in my hands. That night, I slept in a small room with a single bed and a green lamp. For the first time in months, I could breathe. Ryan did not call the next morning. He did not call the day after that. On the 3rd day, one message appeared on my phone. "Are you coming home?" I read it twice. Then I turned the phone over. For the next week, I followed the same routine. I woke before sunrise, walked to the school, and cleaned the classrooms before anyone arrived. After work, I returned to Claire's apartment instead of the place I had shared with Ryan. Everything felt familiar and strange at the same time. Claire had a small guest room with pale walls and a narrow window. In the mornings, sunlight touched the floor beside the bed. At night, I could hear cars passing on the wet street below. It was not my home, but it felt peaceful. Claire did not ask me to make a quick decision. She did not tell me to leave Ryan forever, and she did not tell me to forgive him. She simply made space for me. Sometimes we ate toast and soup at her kitchen table. Sometimes we watched a comedy show and laughed at things that were not very funny. Those small moments reminded me that I was still able to feel something other than sadness. Ryan sent another message 5 days after I left. "I miss you." I stared at the words for a long time. Part of me wanted to answer at once. I wanted to tell him that I missed him too. I missed the way he used to smile when I brought him coffee. I missed our walks near the lake. But I did not miss being ignored. So I put the phone away. In the evenings, I started walking around town. The air was cold, and snow rested beside the sidewalks in grey piles. I passed houses with warm lights in the windows. Through the curtains, I sometimes saw families eating dinner. I saw people talking, laughing, or helping children with homework. I knew every family had problems. Still, I wanted what I saw. I wanted someone who asked how my day had been. I wanted someone who could hear sadness in my voice. I wanted to feel that my presence mattered. At work, I tried to stay busy. One afternoon, I was cleaning a classroom when I found a folded piece of paper under a desk. A child had written 3 words in large blue letters. "You are important." It was probably part of a school activity. Maybe the student had written it for a friend. Still, I stood there holding the paper. My throat became tight. I placed it on the teacher's desk and continued cleaning, but those words stayed with me. "You are important." Why had I forgotten that? The following day, I left school through the side entrance and saw Ryan standing near the parking lot. He wore the same dark jacket he had worn when we first met. His hands were deep in his pockets, and his face looked tired. My heart began to beat harder. He stepped toward me. Hi. Hi. Can we talk? Several teachers were walking toward their cars. Children were waiting near the buses. I did not want to have that conversation there. Not now, I said. Ryan nodded quickly. Tomorrow? I looked at him for a moment. After work. At Miller Park. I'll be there. The next afternoon, the sky was pale and heavy. I reached the park first and sat on a cold wooden bench. The trees were bare. A small pond had frozen around the edges. Ryan arrived a few minutes later. He sat beside me, leaving space between us. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I didn't know you were that unhappy. I looked at the pond. I told you. You said you wanted more attention. I said I felt alone. Ryan lowered his head. I thought you were just having a bad week. It was not 1 week. He rubbed his hands together. I thought we were okay. I went to work. I came home. I paid my part of the rent. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't lie to you. You also didn't talk to me. I was tired. You were always tired when I needed you. He looked hurt, but I continued. I did not need expensive gifts. I did not need you to take me somewhere special every weekend. I needed you to look at me. I needed you to care when I was sad. I cared. Then why couldn't I feel it? Ryan opened his mouth, but no answer came. A dog ran across the path near us. Its owner called its name, and the sound broke the silence. After a moment, Ryan said, I don't know how to talk about feelings. I know. My father never talked about anything. My parents lived together for 30 years, and I never saw them discuss their problems. That doesn't make it right. No, he said. It doesn't. I turned toward him. You made me feel like part of the furniture. His face changed. I never wanted that. But that is what happened. Ryan looked down at his hands again. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Do you want to end this? The question frightened me, even though I had asked myself the same thing many times. I still love you, I said. But I cannot go back to the same life. It won't be the same. You can't promise that after one conversation. He took a slow breath. Then don't believe my words yet. I looked at him. What do you mean? Watch what I do. I wanted to believe him. But hope had already hurt me once. I need time. Ryan nodded. I understand. Do you? No, he said honestly. But I'm trying to. That answer surprised me. He did not ask me to come home. He did not reach for my hand. He simply sat beside me until the light began to fade. Before we left, he said, I'm sorry. I had imagined hearing those words many times. But when he finally said them, they did not repair everything. They only opened a door. After that meeting, Ryan stopped sending daily messages. Instead, he sent one message every few days. I hope work went well. I left your winter boots at Claire's door. Your plant needed more sunlight, so I moved it near the kitchen window. The plant was a small green one I had bought during our first year together. I often forgot to water it, but it always survived. When Claire told me Ryan was caring for it, I felt something warm inside me. Still, I stayed where I was. A week later, Ryan asked if I wanted to meet for coffee. We went to a quiet cafe near the library. At first, our conversation was uncomfortable. He asked about work. I told him a child had spilled paint across an entire classroom floor. Ryan smiled. Did you save the floor? Mostly. That sounds like a hard day. It was a simple sentence, but I noticed it. He had listened. Before, he might have nodded and changed the subject. This time, he asked what happened next. We stayed for almost an hour. When we left, he did not ask when I was coming back. 2 weeks later, We met again at the park. Ryan brought sandwiches, bottled water, and an orange blanket. The blanket was too small for both of us, but we tried to sit on it anyway. For a few minutes, things felt almost normal. Then Ryan said, "I started seeing someone." My stomach tightened. He saw my face and quickly added, "A counselor." "I mean a counselor." I let out a breath. "Oh. I had my first meeting last week." "Why?" "Because I don't know how to explain what I feel. Sometimes I don't even know what I feel." He pulled a loose thread from the blanket. "The counselor asked me what I was afraid of." "What did you say?" "I said I wasn't afraid of anything." "That sounds like you." Ryan gave a small smile. "Then she asked why I never told you I needed space or why I never asked what you needed. And I realized I was afraid of doing it wrong." I watched him closely. "So you did nothing?" "Yes." He looked ashamed. "I thought silence was safer. If I didn't say the wrong thing, we wouldn't fight. But we stopped being close." "I know that now." I looked toward the frozen pond. "Why did it take me leaving?" Ryan was quiet for a long time. "Because I thought you would always be there." The answer hurt. But it was honest. He continued, "I thought your kindness meant you would accept anything. I thought coming home was enough. When you left, the apartment felt different." "How?" "Empty. It was empty before. For you," he said. "I understand that now." The wind moved across the park. Ryan pulled the edge of the blanket over my hand. I did not move away. Over the next month, we met once or twice each week. Sometimes we walked. Sometimes we ate dinner. Sometimes we sat in silence. But the silence no longer felt like a wall. It felt like a pause between two people who were learning how to speak again. Ryan began to tell me small things. He told me when work had been difficult. He told me when he worried about money. He told me that his mother used to become angry whenever anyone showed strong emotion. "I learned to stay quiet," he said. "Quiet people did not cause trouble." I understood him. But understanding his past did not remove the pain he had caused. One evening, I became sick with a fever. Claire sent Ryan a message because she had to work late. He arrived with soup, medicine, and a bag of oranges. "You didn't have to come," I said. "I know." He placed the soup on the table. "I wanted to." He stayed only 20 minutes. He checked that I had water and made sure the window was closed. Then he left so I could rest. That touched me more than flowers would have. He was learning to care without waiting to be asked. I was changing too. Before, I often hid my feelings until they became too heavy. Now I practiced saying what I needed. When Ryan interrupted me one evening, I stopped him. "Please let me finish." He became quiet. Then he said, "Sorry. Go on." When I needed a weekend alone, I told him. He did not become angry. "Take the time you need," he said. These changes were small, but they were real. One Saturday, Ryan invited me to dinner at the apartment. "No pressure," he said. "Just dinner." When I arrived, 2 candles were burning on the table. I stopped near the door. Ryan noticed my face. I remembered. The pasta was slightly burned, and the sauce was too salty. I ate it anyway. During dinner, he asked about my week. I told him about a student who had hidden a frog inside his backpack. Ryan laughed so hard that he almost dropped his fork. I had not heard that laugh in a long time. For a moment, I saw the man I had first loved. But I also saw someone new. After dinner, Ryan washed the dishes while I sat at the table. When he finished, he brought me a cup of tea. "You look tired," he said. "I am." "Do you want me to drive you back?" "Yes." He did not ask me to stay. That mattered. The next week, I left my toothbrush in the bathroom by accident. When I returned 2 days later, it was still there. Ryan had not placed it in a drawer. He had not treated it as a promise. He simply left it beside his. Little by little, I began leaving more things. A book near the bed. A sweater on a chair. My favorite cup in the kitchen. Still, I did not move back. Part of me was afraid that Ryan's effort would disappear as soon as he felt safe again. One evening, I told him that. We were walking beside the river. Thin ice floated near the bank. "What if this is temporary?" I asked. Ryan did not answer quickly. "It might be," he said. I stopped walking. He turned toward me. "I don't mean I plan to stop trying. I mean I can't prove the future to you. Then how am I supposed to trust you?" Slowly. The word hung between us. "I can only show you what I do today," he continued. "Then I can show you again tomorrow." I looked at him for a long time. It was not a perfect answer. But it felt true. 3 days later, Ryan asked me to meet him at the lake where we used to spend Sundays. When I arrived, he was sitting on the old bench with a folded piece of paper in his hands. His fingers shook when he opened it. "I wrote something," he said. "My counselor told me to say it out loud." "You don't have to." "I do." He looked at the paper. "I spent a long time believing that staying was the same as loving. I thought paying bills and coming home made me a good partner." He paused. "But I was living beside you without really seeing you." My eyes began to burn. Ryan continued. "You gave me many chances. You cooked for me. You waited for me. You asked me to talk, and I made you feel like your needs were too much." He looked up. "They were not too much." I looked away because tears had filled my eyes. "I cannot change what I did," he said. "And I cannot ask you to forget it. I only want you to know that I see it now." His voice became unsteady. "If you come back, I will keep trying. If you don't, I will still keep trying. I don't want to become better only because I am afraid of losing you." He folded the paper. "I want to become better because the man I was hurt someone I loved." For years, I had wanted Ryan to speak like that. But as I listened, I understood something important. I was no longer waiting for his words to save me. I had already started saving myself. "Thank you," I said. Ryan nodded. He did not ask for an answer. That night, I lay awake in Claire's guest room. My mind returned to every cold dinner and every lonely evening. Then I remembered the soup, the candles, the counselor, and the shaking paper in Ryan's hands. I still loved him. But love was no longer the only question. The real question was whether I could trust the man he was becoming. The next morning, I took a long walk through town. The snow had started to melt. Water ran along the sides of the road, and sunlight shone on the wet pavement. I passed the bakery, the library, and the small market where Ryan and I had first met. For a moment, I could see us there again. I saw the can rolling across the floor. I saw his boot stopping it. I heard him asking if I had had a long day. That memory still felt warm. But warm memories were not enough to build a future. I sat on a bench outside the library and closed my eyes. I asked myself a simple question. What did I want now? Not what I had wanted a year ago. Not what I had hoped Ryan would become. What did I need today? The answer came slowly. I wanted peace. I wanted honesty. I wanted to feel seen. And I wanted to know that I could leave again if I ever became invisible. That last thought surprised me. Before, I had believed love meant staying no matter what happened. Now I understood that love also needed choice. I did not want to return because I was afraid of being alone. I wanted to return only if being together felt better than being apart. That afternoon, I called Ryan. "Can we talk?" "Of course. I'll come over." When he opened the door, he looked nervous. The apartment smelled like coffee and fresh paint. One wall in the living room was lighter than before. "You painted," I said. "Only one wall. I didn't know if you would like the color." I almost smiled. "It's nice." We sat on the couch. My green plant stood near the window. It looked stronger than I remembered. Ryan waited for me to speak. I'm thinking about coming back, I said. Hope appeared on his face, but he did not move closer. Okay. I'm not coming back because I miss the apartment. I know. I'm not coming back because I feel sorry for you. I know that too. I'm thinking about coming back because I believe you are trying. Ryan nodded. But I need some things to be different. Tell me. I need us to talk, even when it feels uncomfortable. I need you to tell me when you need space instead of shutting me out. All right. I need you to ask how I feel and listen to the answer. I can do that. And I need time alone sometimes. His face stayed calm. You can have it. I looked at him carefully. I may still stay with Claire some weekends. That's okay. And if we return to the old way, I will leave. Ryan's eyes became serious. I understand. No, I said. I need you to really understand. He took a breath. If I stop trying, you will protect yourself. Yes. You should. The answer touched me more than I expected. We did not celebrate. We did not hug and act as if everything was fixed. We simply sat together. For the first time, we spoke about what returning would really mean. I moved back 3 days later. I brought only 2 bags at first. I left some clothes at Claire's place. I told myself I was not closing that door yet. Claire helped me carry a box to Ryan's car. Before I left, she hugged me. You know you can come back anytime. I know. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone. I know that too. She smiled. Good. You're learning. The first week with Ryan felt strange. We were careful with each other. Almost too careful. He asked how I was feeling several times a day. I tried not to laugh, but one evening I finally did. You don't have to ask every hour. He looked worried. Am I doing it wrong? No. Just be natural. I'm trying to learn what natural is. That made both of us laugh. Some evenings were easy. We cooked together. Ryan cut vegetables while I made soup. He told me stories from the building supply store. One customer had tried to return a hammer after using it for 10 years. Another man had spent 30 minutes choosing between 2 kinds of screws, then left without buying anything. These were small stories, but I liked hearing them. Before, Ryan had brought his tired body home and left the rest of himself outside. Now he brought his whole day with him. Other evenings were harder. One night, I came home upset after a difficult day at school. A student had become sick in the hallway. Another child had broken a classroom window during a game. I had spent hours cleaning, calling for help, and making sure no one stepped near the glass. When I walked into the apartment, Ryan was watching television. He said hello but did not look away from the screen. The old pain returned at once. I put down my bag harder than I meant to. Ryan turned. What's wrong? You didn't even look at me. His face changed. I said hello. That's not the same. For 1 second, I saw anger in his eyes. Then he turned off the television. You're right, he said. Come here. I remained near the door. I had a terrible day. Tell me. I wanted to stay angry. Part of me had already prepared for another cold evening. But he was listening. So I told him. When I finished, he said, that sounds awful. It was. Do you want dinner, tea, or quiet? The question was simple and perfect. Tea, I said. He made it without another word. That evening showed me that change did not mean never making mistakes. It meant noticing them before they became walls. Ryan continued seeing his counselor. Sometimes he came home quiet after a meeting. But now he explained why. We talked about my father today, he said once. Was it difficult? Yes. Do you want to talk about it? Not yet. Before, those 2 words would have frightened me. Now they felt different because he had added yet. He was not closing the door. He was asking for time before opening it. I also began to look at my own habits. I had spent years expecting people to understand me without clear words. I thought love should make someone know everything. But sometimes I smiled when I was hurt. Sometimes I said, "It's fine," when nothing was fine. I had trained Ryan to believe my silence. That did not excuse his behavior. But it helped me understand my part. One evening, I told him, "I need more help with the cleaning." He looked around the apartment. I thought I helped. "You wash dishes sometimes." "I mean all of it." Oh. The old Ava might have become quiet after that answer. The new Ava continued. "The bathroom. The floors. Laundry. Shopping. Planning meals. I do most of it." Ryan nodded slowly. "You're right." The next morning, he cleaned the bathroom. He did a terrible job. There was water on the floor, and he used the wrong spray on the mirror. But I said nothing about the small mistakes. The next week, he did better. A month after I returned, we visited my parents. Ryan had never gone with me before. He always said weekends were his only time to rest. This time, he asked when we were leaving. My parents lived 2 hours away in a small house beside an apple farm. My mother was surprised to see Ryan. "You finally came," she said. "I should have come sooner," he answered. He brought her yellow flowers. He helped my father repair a loose step near the back door. At dinner, Ryan asked questions. He listened to my mother's long story about a neighbor's lost cat. On the drive home, he held my hand. "You were different there," I said. "Good different?" "Yes." He looked at the road. "I used to think showing up was enough. And now? Now I think showing up is only the beginning." I squeezed his hand. Spring arrived slowly. The frozen lake opened again. Birds returned to the trees. Children came into school with muddy shoes instead of snow boots. Ryan and I started walking by the water every Sunday. Sometimes he brought fishing equipment. Sometimes he left it at home. One morning, he caught a very small fish. He held it up proudly. "That may be the smallest fish in Vermont," I said. "It still counts." He placed it back in the water. We sat on the shore with tea. The silence between us felt soft. I realized I was no longer checking every minute to see if he had changed back. Trust had not returned all at once. It came in small pieces. It came when he remembered an important date. It came when he said, "I'm upset, but I don't want to fight." It came when he noticed I was tired and started dinner. It came when he apologized without adding an excuse. Still, there were bad days. One Friday, Ryan forgot that we had planned to meet Claire for dinner. He came home late from work and said he had already eaten. I felt the old anger rise. "You forgot." His face fell. "I did. She made a reservation." "I'm sorry. I reminded you yesterday." "I know." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Ryan reached for his coat. "What are you doing?" "We're late, but we can still go." "You're tired." "I am. But I made a promise." We arrived 40 minutes late. Claire gave Ryan a hard look. He apologized directly to her. No excuses. No complaint about work. Later, Claire whispered to me, "He is different." I looked across the table. Ryan was listening as she told a story about her new neighbor. "Yes," I said. "He is." 6 months after I moved back, Ryan stopped me in the kitchen. "I want to ask you something." My heart began to beat faster. He reached into his pocket, but instead of a ring, he pulled out a small key. I stared at it. "What is that?" "The key to the storage room downstairs." I laughed. Ryan smiled. That is not the reaction I expected. "I thought you were going to ask something else." He understood and became nervous. "No. Not yet." "Good." He looked surprised. "Good. I don't want a promise made because we are afraid." Ryan nodded. "Neither do I." He gave me the key. I cleaned the storage room. "I thought you could use part of it for your books and winter clothes." I took the key from his hand. It was a small thing. But it meant he was making space for me in a real way. Not just space in a closet. Space in his life. That summer, Mrs. Harper retired from the school. On her last day, the teachers held a small party in the library. I stood near the back with a paper cup of juice. Mrs. Harper saw me and came over. "You always took such good care of my classroom," she said. "I was just doing my job." "No. You did more than that." She handed me a small card. Inside, she had written, "Thank you for making our school feel cared for." I read the words twice. When I came home, I showed the card to Ryan. He put it on the refrigerator. "You should be proud," he said. I looked at him. A year earlier, I had begged him to notice me. Now he noticed without being asked. That night, we sat near the open window. The green plant rested between us. Its leaves had grown wide and bright. Ryan touched one gently. "I almost killed this plant. You gave it too much water." "I was trying." "I know." He looked at me. "Do you ever regret coming back?" I thought about the question. Sometimes I regret that I had to leave before things changed. His eyes lowered. "I regret that too. But I don't regret leaving." "You shouldn't. I needed to know I could survive without you." Ryan nodded. "And now? Now I know I'm here because I choose to be." He smiled, but his eyes were wet. "That means more to me." A few weeks later, we returned to the market where we had first met. I was reaching for a bag of rice when Ryan stood beside me. "Be careful," he said. "You may drop something." I only did that once. It changed my life. I looked at him. The man beside me was not completely different from the one I had met years before. He was still quiet. He still needed time before speaking. He still loved long hours by the lake. But now his quietness was not a locked door. He had learned how to let me inside. And I had learned not to disappear while waiting. That evening, I watered the green plant. One new leaf had opened near the top. Ryan stood behind me and placed a cup of tea on the table. "You look happy," he said. "I am. Because of me." I smiled. "Not only because of you." He smiled too. "That is probably healthier." I touched the new leaf. For a long time, I had wanted Ryan to become the man I needed. In the end, he did change. But so did I. He learned to speak. I learned to leave silence when it began to hurt me. He learned to notice love. I learned that love should never require me to become invisible. The plant survived because someone finally cared for it. So did we. Sometimes, people change only after they lose what they took for granted. But should love always wait for someone to become better? And if someone finally changes, is it brave to return, or wiser to walk away?